It began on a Friday. Warm evening air rolled off the Georgia pines like breath from a sleeping giant. The kind of southern dusk that drapes everything in gold, even the things it shouldn't. That's when Molly Carter hit the brakes just a half second too long at the corner of Peachmont and Leland. The intersection was empty, no cross traffic, no pedestrians, but the cruiser behind him up anyway. Red and blue strobes, slicing through the soft orange of twilight. He knew what was coming before the lights even flared. 17. Black, driving his mother's Dodge Charger. In a mostly white neighborhood, Mollick exhaled. Not fear, just routine. That slow, careful breath that comes before the checklist. Hands on the wheel, eyes forward, voice steady. One wrong move and you become a statistic. One wrong word and you become a memory. The officer moved fast, too fast, already out of the cruiser, already by the window, tall, wide-shouldered. Sunglasses still on despite the fading light. One hand rested on his holster like it was muscle memory. License and registration. No greeting. No explanation. Mollick spoke softly. It's in the glove compartment. I'm going to reach. The cop didn't nod. Didn't speak. Mollick moved slowly, like time itself had thickened. Retrieved the papers. Handed them over without tremble. Where you headed? Home, sir. Where's home? South Sideth. Cop sniffed like the word tasted bad. You take this route often. Mollick kept his voice even. Sometime. The cop leaned in. This car registered to you, to my mother. Her name is Carla Carter. He studied the license again. Then Mollick. Then the backseat, and that's when it happened. The moment everything shifted. It was subtle, but I saw it. The way his posture changed. The way the smirk on his lips faltered. Like a man stepping on what he thought was solid ground only to feel it give because in the back seat, sitting silent and still, was a woman in a charcoal grey suit. She had said nothing the entire time. No need. Her presence did the speaking. Hair cut short, glasses resting low on her nose, a single silver pin on her lapel, and clipped to the front pocket of her blazer in full view was a badge for Darrelot Local. Not state, not some rent-a-cop certification. No, this was the kind of badge that came with a clearance level you don't joke about, and the officer knew it. He stepped back, just a half step. Everything all right, Mum? His tone bent into something it hadn't been 2 seconds earlier. Respect. She tilted her head. Are you all right, officer? That did it. Not a threat, not even a challenge, just a question. Dressed in velvet, but stitched with steel, cleared his throat. Glanced back at his cruiser like it might save him. Just routine traffic stop. She said nothing more, but she didn't need to say it. We all heard it anyway. Handed Mollick back his license and papers. Too quickly now. Fingers fumbling. Drive. Safe. He muttered, and then he was gone. Mollick didn't move. Not right away. He stared ahead, jaw clenched. Not in fear, but calculation. Bess, that's how it works. 1 second, you're a suspect. The next, you're a mistake someone's trying to erase before it sticks. The woman in the back seat leaned forward slightly. Not enough to startle, just enough to fill the space he left behind. You did well, she said. Didn't give him anything. Mollick nodded. Didn't feel like I had a choice. You did, she replied. You just made the better one. What the officer didn't know, what he never stopped to ask, was that Mollick wasn't just some kid behind the wheel of a too-fast car, was being driven to a dinner. Just any dinner. A private recognition banquet, hosted by the Southern Federal Law Alliance, because Mollick Carter, at 17, had just scored in the top 1% nationwide on the SAT, and was already fielding full scholarship offers from 5 Ivy League schools. He was being honored for academic excellence and community leadership. He had founded a tutoring program for underserved middle schoolers, written code for an app that helped visually impaired students access school materials. The woman in the backseat, Special Agent Loretta Shortby, mentoring Mollick since he was 15 tonight, was her way of showing the agency what was possible when the system didn't just see color, the potential, and for a moment, it almost didn't happen. Own second of bias, One flicker of power misuse Edthi arrived at the venue 30 minutes later. The Ritz conference hall shimmered in soft light marble pillars. Valet waiting. Doorman in press suits. Malik stepped out slow. Straightened his blazer. Adjusted his cuffshaw. Exited the back seat behind him. Nodding once to the valet inside. People turned to look, not because they saw a young black man walking through those doors, but because they recognized something else entirely. Kind you can't fake. The kind that's forged under pressure. Shaw leaned in slightly as they made their way to the registration table. You sure you're ready for this? Malik smiled without showing teeth. After that stop, he exhaled. I was born ready, but that's not where the story ends. Beckhouse inside that ballroom. Just past the clinking glasses and polite laughter. Past the keynote speaker and the catered shrimp cocktail. Something else was waiting. A folder thick, confidential, marked with a seal Malik didn't recognize, and inside it, photos, documents, names, including one that made Loretta Shaw go completely still, not scared, but alert. Focus edit was the name of the officer who pulled Malik over, and beneath it, a file that was supposed to be sealed. Shaw looked at Malik, then at the folder. We need to talk, she said quietly. They didn't talk until they were back in the car. No, through dessert. Not during the standing ovation Malik received. Not when the congresswoman shook his hand. But in the silence of the Charger, parked in a quiet lot behind the Ritz, with the glow of sodium lights pooling like ghosts on the pavement. Shaw finally spoke. That officer, Wesley Gage. I've seen his name before. 10 years ago. Malik turned toward her, confused. Where? She pulled the folder from her bag, opened it. The paper whispered secrets as she spread out the photos, surveillance, testimonies. One photo showed Gage in uniform outside a rundown house. Another, more recent, showed him talking to someone in a black SUV. He was part of an internal probe. Unit Bravo 17. A task force that ran illegal checkpoints in predominantly black neighborhoods under the radar. Racial profiling, unlawful searches. They buried the case. No charges filed. Most of the evidence sealed. But you kept something. She didn't deny it. We suspected a larger network. But the trail went cold. Until tonight. Malik looked down at the photo again. He recognized you, he said slowly. Not as a Fed, as a threat, maybe, she said. Or maybe he recognized something else. There was a beat of silence. That SUV, Malik pointed. The one he's talking to. The license plate ... That's a diplomatic tag. Shaw nodded. I noticed. And I already ran it. Guess what came back? Malik waited. Nothing. Another beat. How is that possible? Shaw looked at him. The shadows across her face made her look older. Or maybe just more tired, because someone wanted it to besh. Flipped to the last page of the firelight was a memo, redacted, but 3 lines stood out. Clean and untutored asset reactivitido not engadgetia for access required. Malik blinked. What does that mean? It means Officer Gage isn't just a bad cop, she said. He's connected to something bigger. Something off the books. Malik leaned back in his seat. So what do we do now? Shaw closed the folder. Now we follow the trail. Her phone boot said a message. No ID, just coordinates. She stared at the screen, then handed it to Malik. That address. It's the old Bravo 17 precinct. Supposed to be decommissioned. Malik hesitated. You're not thinking of going? Not thinking, she said. I already decided. He stared at her. Then I'm coming with you. She didn't smile, but she didn't say no. Started the car. The night swallowed them. They reached the precinct an hour later. No lights. No movement, but the door was unlocked, and inside, the silence wasn't empty. It was waiting. They moved slowly. Hallways echoed like cathedrals. Dust floated like secrets in the beam of Malik's phone light. Then he saw it. A board covered in photos. One of them ... was Haim. Another Shawand pinned between them. Red string leading to a central face. Wesley Gage. Now. The name under the photo wasn't Gage. Was something else. Agent K9. Status dash embedded ... The silence. Shaktrad. A voice crackled through the building intercom. Not automated. Live. We were wondering when you'd find us. Shaw drew her weapon. Malik's breath caught in his throat, and from somewhere deeper in the building, footsteps began it running. Marching sound of boots hit the old linoleum at wall drums. Measured. Heavy clothes. Shaw didn't flinch. Her weapon held steady, but her stance shifted slightly. She was calculating. Malik's heart hammered in his ears. The kind of rhythm you only hear when something is coming, and you know it's not coming to talk. They backed into the adjacent hallway. Old paint peeled off the walls. A flickering exit sign above cast shadows that twitched like ghosts. Do not fire unless fired upon. Shaw whispered. Got it, Malik said. Voice dried. Marching stopped, then silenced. Then a voice, not the one from the intercom. Deeper. Closer. Human, I told them you wouldn't let it go. Shaw. A man stepped into view at the end of the hallway. Tall, clean cut, dressed like he stepped out of a government briefing. Wesley. Gage, except this wasn't the smug roadside cop. This man moved like something else. Not local law, not even federal. Something colder. Shaw didn't lower her weapon. Who are you working for? She asked. Gage smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We all work for someone, Agent. But the real question is why bring the kid? Malik didn't speak, didn't move. You left something behind, Shaw said. Bravo 17 was shut down officially, but your name keeps showing up. Gage raised an eyebrow. And you just stumbled into that file tonight. You think that was an accident? Shaw's grip tightened. What do you want? Gage took a slow step forward, then another. I want you to understand what's at stake. Malik here. He's smart, gifted, but he's also dangerous to people who prefer the system stay exactly the way it is. He turned slightly, voice lower. He doesn't realize it yet, but he's already on their radar. That stop. That wasn't routine. That was a warning. Malik's stomach dropped. A warning. From who? Gage looked at Shaw. Ask her. The hallway pulsed with tension. Shaw stepped forward. You think fear's going to stop him? Stop me? No, Gage said. Almost bored, but you're still playing checkers in a chess game. He pulled a phone from his coat pocket, tossed it down the hallway. It slid to a stop at Shaw's feet. Coordinates. A safe house. If you really want answers, go there, but go alone. Malik stepped forward. I'm not letting her go alone. Gage looked at him finally, fully, and for the first time, his face changed. It wasn't contempt, it was regret. You think you're in control, Malik, but you're walking into a storm that's been spinning 4 years before you were born. Malik held his stare. I don't scare easy. Gage nodded. Then God help you. Turned, walked back into the darkness without another word. No gunfire. No orders, just an open door and a threat wrapped in a favor. Shaw picked up the phone, opened the GPS app. Coordinates pinged to an estate, she said. Private property, 40 miles west of here. She glanced at Malik. He wants to split us up. Malik shook his head. Then let's not let him. They walked out the front door of the precinct as the night deepened. No more voices. No more marching. Just questions back in the charger. Shaw plugged in the address, but something in her hands trembled. Malik noticed. You okay? She stared at the road. That property. I know it. All I thought I did. It belonged to someone who died 3 years ago. Who? She hesitated. My first partner. GPS bunker calculating route. Only this time, the destination had changed and the coordinates now led to Malik's neighborhood, right to his front yard. Shaw's eyes went wide. What the hell? And her phone buzzed again. And message. No number. Just 4 words. You're all ready to let. They both looked up in the distant smoke rising over the trees. Black and heavy. Malik's voice broke. That's my block. Shaw slammed the car into guard tires. Squealed sirens began to howl, and somewhere in the dark, a plan that had been years in motion was finally showing its teeth. Charger skidded through the last turn before Malik's neighborhood, tires screaming against asphalt that shimmered from the heat. The closer they got, the more it made sense, and the less it did. Smoke billowed up in thick ribbons above the rooftops. Not wildfire smoke, accidental. This was too focused to contain a target. Cut the headlights 3 blocks out. Eyes sharp, jaw clenched. I need you to stay in the car, she said. Malik didn't answer. Malik, I'm not staying behind. While someone sets my street on fire. She hesitated, then nodded. On Sethi Park, 2 houses down from Malik's, the home was still standing, but the house across the street, the Jacksons, was engulfed. Flames crackled against the sky. Neighbors were huddled on the curb, phones out. Sirens echoed from farther off than they should have been. Dr. Farshaw drew her weapon, flashed her badge. Federal agent. Everyone clear this block now. People obeyed, not because of the badge, but the tone. The kind of voice that didn't ask. Malik's eyes swept the streetways. Mom. He moved fast, ignoring the smoke biting his eyes. Shaw followed. Malik, a voice shouted. Turned. His mother stood at the edge of the lawn, barefoot, pajama pants, phone still clutched in one shaking hand. Mom. She ran to him, arms thrown tight around his shoulders. Where were you? They came, baby. They came right up to the door. I didn't answer. I hid. Who? Shaw asked. Carla's voice trembled. 2 men, black coats. Said they were checking power meters, but they didn't check anything. They just stood out front. Like they were waiting. Shaw looked up and down the street. Her gut said it wasn't over, not even Classithan. She saw ITA, single envelope taped to the Carter family mailbox. She approached, peeled it off. Inside, a photograph. Malik from earlier that evening, sitting in the Charger, smiling on the back. Wrong route, right target. Front door creaked open. Across the street, burned out home, the Jacksons' place. A figure stepped out of the haze, covered in soot, moving slowly. Stay here, Shaw ordered, handing the envelope to Malik. She approached, weapon low. Figure stumbled, collapsed to one knee. Shaw sprinted as she neared. The figure looked up. It was JVR, a former analyst Shaw worked with. He'd gone dark 2 years earlier. Rumored whistleblower, rumored dead. He coughed blood, grabbed her wrist. They're using you, all of you. It's deeper than Bravo 17. They're rewriting everything. Who is? He tried to speak again, then his eyes widened. Shaw turned a black SUV had turned the corner. Quiet. No lights, no plates. Malik saw it too. He froze. Its window rolled down, and behind the tinted glass a familiar Faccione. Malik had only seen one scene. A call. Truman. The news in textbooks. Is that? He stammered. Shaw's face turned white. It can't be. He's supposed to be. The SUV pulled up fast. Door opened. And the man stepped out. He smiled. Hello, Malik. We've been waiting for you. The man who stepped out of the SUV was supposed to be deadened, not just dead, buried by 3 federal investigations, scrubbed from the public eye, and declared officially deceased in a closed casket. Funeral 5 years. Agabit. There he stood. Colton Riss, former Homeland Intel operative, architect of Operation Halo Verge, once dubbed the ghost in the wires by federal watchdog groups. No, he was here on Malik's street, smiling like this was all some kind of twisted reunion. Shaw took a step forward, gun still drawn. Colton nodded casually. Loretta, still the most dangerous woman in the room. I see you're supposed to be dead. He interrupted. That was the idea. Malik's voice was low, shaken. Why me? Colton turned to him, studied him like a recruiter sizing up a prodigy. Because you're efficient, he said. You connect dots faster than most grown analysts. Because you ask the right questions, and because you're a problem before you even realize it. Shaw narrowed her eyes. So this is about Bravo 17. Colton chuckled. That was the training wheels version. What we're working on now. That's legacy stuff. Tossed a small flash drive toward Malik. Shaw reached out and snatched it. Midair. What's on this? She asked. A gift, he said. A map, but not a treasure. 2 targets. One of them is sitting right in front of me. He looked at Malik again. Hack something, kid. And someone high up noticed. They want to see what you do next. They want to know if you're worth controlling, or if you're too dangerous to exist. Malik didn't blink. So they sent you. Colton shook his head slowly. No, I came on my own. I want out. But first, I needed you to see how deep it goes. Open that file. You'll understand why the fire wasn't just a scare tactic. Shaw hesitated. Plug the drive into her tablet. A list loaded. Names, coordinates. Photoso name stopped. Everything Mulek Carter listed. With a timestamp set for deletion. And beneath it, asset reclassification pending proxy trigger. What does that mean? Mulek asked. Colton's face darkened. It means someone gave a green light. But they're waiting for you to react. If you retaliate, they frame you. If you go quiet, they erase you quietly. Mulek stepped back, breath catching. So I'm supposed to do nothing? Colton looked around, eyes scanning rooftops, shadows. No. You're supposed to disappear. Until I tell you otherwise. You want him to run? Shaw said flatly. I want him to serve. If as a deadly grin cracked from the dark, Shaw dropped instantly, pulling Mulek down. Colton spun around, drawing a weapon from his coat. More shots. A figure fell from the rooftop behind them. Another silhouette broke from behind a hedge, only to be clipped mid-sprint by Shaw's returning fire. They're not waiting. Colton growled. Change of plan. Tossed Shaw a burner phone. Coordinates are in there. Get him out. I'll draw them off. Shaw hesitated. Colton, but he was already gone, moving like a phantom into the smoke. Mulek stood, shaking. What now? Shaw grabbed the phone. Check the coordinates. Safe house. 2 hours north, deep in Red Lake territory. If they know we're going there, we're already dead. And if we don't? She looked him dead in the eye. They'll find your mother next. Mulek didn't speak. Ran back to the charger. Shaw followed. Engines roared as they peeled off into the night. The fire behind them began to spread, and somewhere, in a data center not listed on any government registry, someone logged a new event in the system. Carter, non-compliant, engage protocol, Vindicator.